So in the previous video, we filled out the first quadrant of our unit circle. So in this video, we're going to fill out the rest of the unit circle. And once you have the first quadrant, the rest of this is fairly simple to fill out because what we're going to use is the concept of a reference angle. Okay, so if you remember, to remind ourselves, let's say I have my unit circle here. And let's say we want to figure out 120 degrees. Well, our reference angle alpha, so this is 180 degrees, alpha is going to equal 180 degrees minus 120 degrees, which is 60 degrees. So that means the x and y values for 100 degrees is associated with the x and y values for 60 degrees. And we know the x and y values of 60 degrees, it's right here, 1/2 and the square root of 3 over 2. So this right here is going to be our 120 degrees. However, the thing that changes is whether the x value or the y value is positive or negative. And so that depends on what quadrant you're in. So if I look at my quadrants, if you remember, quadrant 1 is positive, positive. When we're in quadrant 2, well, the x value is negative and the y value is positive. When we're in quadrant 3, the x value is negative and the y value is negative. And when we're in quadrant 4, the x value is positive and the y value is negative. So what's going to happen here is we're going to have 120 degrees, and the coordinates for 120 degrees are going to be the ones associated with 60 degrees. However, because the x value is negative, we're going to have a negative 1/2 square root of 3 over 2. Now the last thing we do have to do is figure out what is the radian measure of that. And there's two ways to do that. We could take 120 and multiply by pi over 180. But let's use the reference angle concept again. Because if this were to be pi, and this over here is pi over 3, then the reference angle would be pi minus pi over 3. Which is 3 pi over 3 minus pi over 3, and that is 2 pi over 3. So in this case, 120 degrees and 2 pi over 3. So now filling out the rest of this quadrant is going to be pretty straightforward because we now know that this angle here has a reference angle of 45, this angle here has a reference of 30. So let's go ahead and work on those. So for the 45 degree angle, we know that 180 degrees minus 45 degrees is 135 degrees. And we also know pi minus pi over 4 equals, what is that, 4 pi over 4 minus pi over 4, which is 3 pi over 4. So then that means for this particular one, this particular angle here, it's 135 degrees and 3 pi over 4. And the coordinates are, instead of square root of 2 over 2 and square root of 2 over 2, the x value is going to be negative. So we're going to have a negative square root of 2 over 2 and the square root of 2 over 2. Let's do the last one. So the last reference angle is 30 degrees for this quadrant. So we have 180 degrees minus 30 degrees is 150 degrees. And then pi minus pi over 6 is going to be 6 pi over 6 minus pi over 6, which is 5 pi over 6. And so this is going to be 150 degrees 5 pi over 6, and the coordinates are going to be negative square root of 3 over 2, 1/2. All right, right here, well, we know that's 180 degrees in pi, so let's go ahead and write that down. And the coordinates, just using logic, it's going to be -1 and 0. Okay, let's continue through. So in this case, our reference angle for this one is going to be the 30 degrees, when instead of 180 minus 30, it's going to be 180 plus 30. So we have 180 degrees plus 30 degrees is 210 degrees. And pi plus pi over 6 is 7 pi over 6. So this here is going to be 210 degrees, 7 pi over 6. Now for quadrant 2, the x and y values are negative, so associated with this one is this coordinate, so they're both going to be negative. So it's going to be a negative square root of 3 over 2, negative 1/2. So look at the next one, so it's going to be 45. So let's go ahead and take 180 degrees plus 45 degrees, which is 225 degrees. And then pi plus pi over 4 is 5 pi over 4. And so we have 225, 5 pi over 4. And then the coordinates of that are negative square root of 2 over 2, negative square root of 2 over 2, because that's what we had up here. Let's see, this is going to be, we're adding 60 degrees to that. So we're going to have, here, I'll do it over here. 180 plus 60 is 240 degrees. And so, 240. And then pi plus pi over 3 is 4 pi over 3. So this is going to be 240 degrees, 4 pi over 3. And the coordinates are going to be a negative 1/2, negative square root of 3 over 2. Okay, so now this one here, we know is 270 degrees. And that's I did that wrong. 270 degrees. And this is 3 pi over 2. And these coordinates is the coordinate here is going to be 0, -1. All right, one more section. Let's go ahead and do this one here. So the reference angle with this is 60 degrees. And let's start with over here. So once we go all the way around, we know this is going to be 360 degrees. I messed that up again. 360 degrees and 2 pi. Now the coordinates of 360 and 2 pi is still 1, 0. So now we can go backwards. So we want to do, this one has a reference angle of 60. So we now have to take 2 pi, no, not 2 pi, 360 degrees minus 60 degrees, which is 300. And then we have 2 pi minus pi over 3. So that's what, 6 pi over 3 minus pi over 3, which is 5 pi over 3. So the coordinates for this one here are going to be 300 degrees, 5 pi over 3. And then for this particular quadrant, the x-axis is positive, the y-axis is negative. So x-axis is positive, y-axis is negative. So the coordinates for this one are going to be 1/2 negative square root of 3 over 2. All right, a couple more to go. This one is associated with the 45 degrees. So 360 degrees minus 45 degrees is 315 degrees. 2 pi minus pi over 4 is, what is that? 8 pi over 4 minus pi over 4, and that is 7 pi over 4. So So let's write that in. So we have 315 degrees, 7 pi over 4, and the coordinates for this one are going to be the square root of 2 over 2, negative square root of 2 over 2. All right, one more. This last one has a reference angle of 30 degrees. Let me squeeze that in here somewhere. So 360 degrees minus 30 degrees is 330 degrees. 2 pi minus pi over 6 is 11 pi over 6. So we're going to have 330 degrees and 11 pi over 6. And the coordinates of that are going to be the square root of 3 over 2, negative 1/2. All right. So there you have it, your unit circle, completely filled out. It's really, really the big thing about the unit circle is knowing quadrant 1. Once you know quadrant 1, then all the other quadrants are based off of the concept of the reference angle. So, if you need to find some angle over here, you just base it off of quadrant 1 and just know how to get to, say, 210 degrees. So.